Hello there, Incels. I am wearing a fedora so that you can hear me better. Is this working? By the way, this is an actual fedora. This is not a trilby. If you've been getting bad reception, it's because you're wearing the wrong hat. So, one thing I've noticed is that incels complain a lot about not being able to have sex. But what if I could tell you, and what if I was going to tell you, which is true, I am going to tell you. I'm going to tell you that there is a secret benefit to you not having all of that sex. And that is that you're already qualified to do magic. And how does that work? Well, it just so happens that there is a magic ritual that gets you basically all of the magical advice that you could ever need from the best advisor that you could ever get. And one of the steps in the ritual is not having sex for a really long time. In fact, several of the steps in the ritual involve not having a lot of social contact. So basically, if you have difficulty with social contact, if you have difficulty contacting people, if you have difficulty conversing with people, difficulty doing business day to day, then guess what? This ritual is for you because all of those things are things that you're not supposed to do. Amazing. So, what other benefits are there to learning this information? Well, let's say that, maybe you made a bad crypto play. Maybe you bought a lot of stock in a company that makes electric vehicles that isn't doing so well. Well, guess what? If you had the advice of this source of knowledge, then you wouldn't have done that, because this source of knowledge will guide you in everything that it is that you need to be able to progress in your life in a good fashion, in the best fashion that it is for you to gain success and help serve the world. And so you wouldn't have made that bad crypto play because this spirit would have said, no, don't do that. That's not going to work. FTX is a fraud. So, did you wish that you would have known about that early? Did you wish that you would have known about something else early? Then you would have wanted to have knowledge and conversation of your holy guardian angel. Now, this is a very well-known ritual in modern occultism. People refer back to it quite often. You can find it in the Book of Abramelin. You do not have to have this copy, but this is a nice copy. In fact, this is probably the nicest copy of Abramelin you can get. I will link to it in the description as well as a free PDF or free other type of copy, because it was written around the 1400s. Written around the 14 or 1500s. You know, one of those hundreds. But it was written very long ago, and that's more than long enough ago for it to be in the public domain. In fact, translations of it that are more recent are, by this point, in the public domain. Translations, adaptations, etc. So, you can get this book, read this book, and then follow the ritual that is detailed there. And if you do, then definitely check back in with us, but it's going to take you a long time because that ritual takes at least a year and a half. Now, I'm going to go over the requirements in the original book so you'll understand a little bit more of what I mean, but I do want to say ahead of time that there is an easier way of doing this that Aleister Crowley worked out, because of course he did, and I will go over that after talking a bit about the original version, because the OG is pretty interesting. And by the way, this book is pretty useful, and I do recommend going through it and understanding it. One of the reasons that we're not going to be using, or you're not going to be using, since I've already done this, is one of the reasons we're not going to be using the one in the book is because there's a lot here that is required of people in the 14 or 1500s that we can't do now, or simply the world doesn't work this way anymore. And you'll start to get an idea of that whenever you hear it, because I'm going to read out some of the requirements here. So this is pretty interesting, by the way, and it's one of the reasons why I suggest getting the book. Chapter 3, the age and the qualities that you need. To make it better and easier to do the right things, I shall give a rough explanation of the qualifications that are required. I shall also make some suggestions about possible obstacles. First, one should live a religious life, be educated in good manners, neither be loose, careless, or arrogant. One should love solitude and not surrender himself to the enemies, stinginess and usury. It is good if one is born from good, honest parents, but this is unnecessary for the study of the sacred magic. Whereas no illegitimate person is allowed to study the secret Kabbalah. Something, by the way, I've never heard that if you're a bastard, you're not allowed to study Kabbalah, but it's in here, and I'm amazed. This was written by a, a person who was actually a Jewish rabbi, so I don't know. I know that there's like variance in beliefs and stuff, but I did not know that was actually a requirement, and it's just so like kind of off the cuff mentioned here that I kind of find that hilarious. One's age should not be over 50 or below 25. Get out, kids! One should be free of inherited diseases, leprosy, or epilepsy. One should have a healthy body without a disfiguring injury. It does not matter whether one is married. And see, at this point, I don't know if you were missing a leg, but you had like a really good replacement leg, if that would count. If one could start the work in the first year of marriage like I did, like the author did, it is good and promises well. This is because the first year has the blessing of Adonai. Otherwise, it is better to be single and to complete the work before marriage. You hear that? That is an advantage to you if you are an incel. You're already like 90% of the way there. Just keep going. There are fewer obstacles if you are free and independent. See? Take care if you are a servant that this work and your duties don't hinder each other. An indentured laborer will probably never finish the work because duty can call day and night, and so he would be unable to wait for things to manifest. See, the method that's detailed in this book would be very difficult if you were working a day job, basically. If you were working a strenuous day job that you had to like show up for at specific times, then you would have some conflict here, because here you're supposed to actually just be waiting for the spirit to kind of call upon you and at all times. So it's like you either are going to be waiting for your spirit pager to go off or your actual pager to go off. And this is sort of an equal opportunity area, but it is like 1500. So in regard to women, virgins are the fittest. Others should avoid the work because of their impurity. Generally, my advice, for many reasons, is that women should stay away from the work. By the way, if anyone's ever wondering why this was, it's because menstruation was considered to be far too difficult to work around in terms of impurity or in terms of like literal cleanliness guidelines. And so that was their justification at the time. You know, they didn't have IUDs back then. There were a lot of other things that they didn't have, a lot of other remediations that they didn't have, and also men were usually not very educated as to what it was that women did to like deal with this stuff. So like I feel like this is very much a glass ceiling kind of situation. Anyway, I want to move on because there's a lot of other stuff going on in this book. So let's see. Most so-called magic books are fraudulent is what it lets you know after that, just in case you didn't know. The sacred magic requires no special regards for times and dates except those that have been revealed from the divine secrets by the good spirits. So you can do this anytime. Yay! Just avoid the holy days. Which holy days? See, this book presumes that you are Christian and you've kind of got a Christian-based system, or that you are Jewish, and that's pretty much as far as they go. Like, they don't really mention any other major religions, but it is 1500, so I don't know how many they're really going to care about or pay or mention. So there's a lot about astrology. What one should do in the first 6 months when learning this art. Now we come to the beginning of the negotiation and the proper arrangement for the meeting. This material is important and dangerous, so I want to avoid all possible byways and come straight to the point. Let's get straight to it. On the first morning after Passover, clean your body and put on new clothes. About half an hour before sunrise, go into your prayer room. You know that room that you have for praying? Your prayer room? Oh, you don't have one of those? Well, you're going to need to set that up. Open the window that faces east and fall to your knees in front of the altar. You need to set that up too. Facing the window, pray sincerely in the name of Adonai. Thank him for all the mercy that he granted you from your childhood. Humble yourself through confession. Ask him to continue to give you his grace and that he will send you his holy angel who will protect and guide you so that you do not unconsciously fall into sin. By the way, this is just for preparation to help you get to the knowledge and conversation of the Holy Guardian Angel, which, by the way, the whole point of the knowledge and conversation of the Holy Guardian Angel, I really want to emphasize this, kind of what we're going for here, what the point is. So the Holy Guardian Angel is one's expression of one's truest divine nature. This is one of the reasons why I believe you don't really have to have a specific religion to do this, because if there is a truest divine nature that you have, it should just express itself and be able to kind of vet itself. I don't think it really gives regard to which religion you're practicing if you're connecting with it properly. And in fact, maybe after you connect with it, it'll tell you like which religion you ought to be doing to get the best results. I don't know, but it'll know better than I do. My HGA has not told me to switch to a specific religion after gaining contact with them. So that's it. Now, when it comes to what the HGA can do for you, one is give advice. I really want to emphasize that if you have trouble connecting with like women or significant others, I don't know which gender it is that you're going for, if any gender, if you are having trouble really doing anything, the Holy Guardian Angel will have advice for you in that regard, and may even be able to move heaven and earth for you to actually like find someone, may be able to help you with the probabilities, may be able to tell you where to go that you're going to meet someone. And I've just got to emphasize this is a Holy Guardian Angel, so really, the ultimate wingman. If you need a wingman, this is your wingman. So I cannot emphasize enough. Like I think this is a good idea for you. If you're not getting it already, then this is going to be that's actually the hardest part. As far as I've heard, so many people have trouble with the knowledge and conversation of the Holy Guardian Angel ritual, because usually there's a component of it that involves denial of sex. So, and especially difficult for married people. If you are already being denied sex, then just go with it, because you might as well. So, let's talk about how you can go about this without like doing it the like year and a half way that involves you not responding to social obligations, never doing any business, not like dressing in like a very few clothes. There's times where you're like not even supposed to see other human beings. So like, that's sometimes difficult, although at this point it's like, hey, just stay on social media, do like you did with COVID. You probably already have knowledge and conversation of your Holy Guardian Angel after COVID, so really all I'm telling you to do is just kind of check on this. So methods of contact, the thing is, Crowley kind of worked this out with Thelema, so I'm going to leave a link in the description to the Wikipedia article on this, because it makes it kind of, it's not that the ritual is that short here, it's more that Crowley teaches you to roll your own, which is pretty much what you should be doing with magic for the most part, because it is so very personal, and because so much of the pre-written material is hundreds of years old, so it's very out of date. Even if you still believe whatever it is that it prescribes, the ingredients are going to be very difficult to source at this point. Before I do that, though, I do want to leave you with a bit of wisdom from the Abramelin book, because in chapter 27, it says to make all kinds of things appear. And I want you to know just like the sort of things that the book of Abramelin tells you that you can do and how to do purportedly, because you're going to love this. So there are 39 things that this book says that you can make appear. And here they are. A beautiful lawn, a hunting party, a pumpkin, a beautiful garden, a beautiful palace, a rose garden, a big lake, a snow, a grape plant or grapes, a vineyard, wild animals, paddocks and fields, farm buildings, A castle on a mountain. A mountain. Flowers. Bridges. A running spring. A village. All sorts of trees, also a forest. A lion. A wild cat. Cranes. Owls. Steers. Giants. Horses. Peacocks. Eagles. Bears. Buffaloes. Wild pigs. Dragons. Unicorn. Vultures. Foxes. Griffins. Rabbits. And dogs. So, from Crowley's thelemic perspective, you're not really trying to appease a higher entity who will then see what it is that you have sacrificed and all and allow you contact with your guardian angel. Instead, it is more that you have always had the ability to contact this entity, and this entity has always been contacting you, but you are constantly ignoring it because you are paying attention to input from your astral body, your physical body, and your logical mind. The physical body, whenever they say that, by the way, means the physical senses and the emotions, as in the chemistry in your brain. All of these are distractions, as well as just basically everything else in your life. That's why in Abramelin, they say, hey, get rid of everything in your life. Then you won't be distracted from this other thing that your life has been distracting you from. With Crowley's approach, you're going to be able to not spend nearly as much time on it, which is one of the key elements that really makes this not doable for most modern people. Because Crowley was recognizing back in like the 1900s that this wasn't really doable for modern people, and we're 100 years later now. So one of the things he says, by the way, the key to success is to invoke often. So basically, if it doesn't work the first time, just keep going, keep doing it. The idea is that there's something that's on the phone, but there's a bunch of other voices on the line that keep on talking over it. So you just need to wait it out until they finally get tired and the signal will be open for you. So that's the effect of the ritual has been 1, to keep them so busy with their own work that they cease to distract you. So when you have a magic ritual, you can set up an altar, put all these fancy items on it, do all these particular things with the items, say a bunch of rituals, do a dance, play some music, burn incense, light candles, decorate the entire place, whatever it takes. But all that stuff is really there to distract the part of you that is getting in the way of you being able to contact this other, either part of yourself or part of the universe that is connected to you and is supposed to be kind of your all access hotline to the universe. It's kind of like if you had a hitchhiker's guide who was also like a Jarvis, but beholden to higher ideals of the universe, not beholden to you. A lot of this is going to involve, by the way, understanding your own morality and ethos, because whenever you don't follow your own morality and ethos, the true morality and ethos that you actually hold underneath a lot of other illusions, then the HGA won't be doing things for you because on some level it knows that you don't actually want this to the fullness of your being. So there's a lot of things about just like knowing yourself, getting psychological. So this might take a while, but like probably not the year and a half of very intense self-deprivation that Abramelin book teaches you to do. So the general mystical process of the ritual. The adept will be free to concentrate his deepest self, that part of him which unconsciously orders his true will, upon the realization of his holy guardian angel. The absence of his bodily, mental, and astral consciousness is indeed cardinal to success, for it is their usurpation of his attention which has made him deaf to his soul, and his preoccupation with their affairs that has prevented him from perceiving that soul. So, the effects of the ritual. 1, to keep those parts so busy with their own work that they cease to distract you. 2, to separate them so completely that your soul is stripped of its sheaths. So your soul is open to contact. Um, and this place, by the way, is where I think a lot of preparatory work is often done to make sure that you're in a safe place to do this, because you're going to be in a very vulnerable state whenever this happens. And again, you don't want your pager to be going off telling you that the server went down. So line up some off time for this one. 3. To arouse in you an enthusiasm so intense as to intoxicate and anesthetize you, that you may not feel and resent the agony of this spiritual vivisection, just as bashful lovers get drunk on the wedding night in order to brazen out the intensity of shame which so mysteriously coexists with their desire. Oh, Crowley, how you write. So part of the intent behind the ritual is to kind of intoxicate your senses. This is why you typically have the incense and the candles and the glitz and all of that. Because there is a kind of a spiritual operation that is being done to you where you're kind of you're opening up to this attachment that you already have to this entity, and to get rid of the things that are in the way, some things might actually have to be cut. So you're basically going through spiritual surgery, and that can be very impactful if you're not properly distracted. So this puts you in the right trance, basically. 4. To concentrate the necessary spiritual forces from every element and fling them simultaneously into the aspiration towards the holy guardian angel. So you're going to want your fire, earth, air, and water sources, and you're going to want to summon those elements up and make sure that they're a big part of this. These are like the 4 fundamental like, when we say elements, it's really like the phases of matter, but also the 4 like natures of reality and the 4 cardinal directions and all of that. The 4 elements kind of sum that all up. So it's like the 4 different components of the world are brought together into one, to reach the 5th element of spirit, just as you're doing all of these things. So that's going to add a lot of gestalt. In fact, that's how they arrived at a lot of spiritual gestalt back then. You might be able to do it in a completely different way now, which we'll get into. Because you may not have to do a physical ritual at all. I've got a different way for you to do this if you're open to suggestion. But first, number 5, to attract the angel by the vibration of the magical voice which invokes it. So you're going to want to achieve the magical voice. And that's where I get to how you're going to do this ritual without necessarily laying out a table and putting stuff on it. The method of the ritual is thus manifold. So you need to immerse all of your senses so that they're distracted. You need to distract your animal body, your logical mind, and your astral self, which astral means star/space. So I would take a look at the astrology that's influencing you at the time and see what astrological influences are going to be distracting you. Because I feel like your astral self could be more influenced by the different planets at different times, and if you're aware of which planets are influencing you at the time, that would be helpful. One of the parts of the Abramelin book actually goes into how all astrologers are wrong most astrologers are wrong in their calculations, and here's how you should do the planetary hours. And you'll probably notice that almost every single magic book does this up until about like the 1900s, and that's because up until the 1900s we really didn't have a reliable way of knowing where the planets were in the sky and what they were doing. We didn't have enough telescopes lined up for it, or even telescopes sometimes. We just had people staring at the sky and using the knowledge that they had of how the stars usually worked to kind of figure it out. So now you can just look up online exactly what the planets are doing and the asteroids are doing and all of that with much more knowledge of like stars and planets and asteroids and other bodies than they had back in Abramelin's day. And so you'll be able to figure out the actual astronomy of the influences that are going on like really fast. So sometimes there's a lot of steps about magical rituals that are written 100 years ago, or not really 100 years ago, but hundreds of years ago. where there's a lot of effort to do something because they didn't know what astrology was influencing a specific point on the planet at the time, because it was not really possible to know that at the time. Just didn't have enough data. That's not a problem anymore. So you kind of eliminate all that work and all that time. So that's nice, isn't it? So how do you do this without even having to do that? Well, you need to keep your senses busy. You need to separate them so completely that you're bare to any sort of influence. So you basically just need to do it in a safe space. Like, say, your living room. Hold on. We're going to get further. And then you need to arouse enthusiasm to intoxicate and anesthetize you to the spiritual surgery that's going to be going on. So whatever it is that is enveloping your senses, that's occupying your senses, needs to be exciting. You need to be really into, right? So you need to concentrate spiritual forces from every element, fling them simultaneously into the aspiration towards the holy guardian angel. Here, I think you're just going to need to figure out a way to do this on your own. There is a personal aspect to magic, and I think that you will be able to figure out a personal aspect to this ritual. Either do it with the medium I'm going to suggest, or do it in your reality, in the space that you're in. In fact, I think doing it in the space that you're in would be very helpful to kind of connect the element that I'm going to suggest you bring in with the area that you're occupying. And then 5, to attract the angel by the vibration of the magical voice which invokes him. And this part is where I'm going to tell you, just play Skyrim, because that's Skyrim shouting. And all of this can be done with Skyrim. So you need to keep all of your senses busy, that they're totally occupied. Like, I get it, Skyrim looks kind of drab, so just like install some mods, make it look better. So, and then you just need to be in a safe space, like I said before. Go play Skyrim alone. Just make sure none of your bros are gonna like come in. And then you need to arouse enthusiasm. So, like, is there an exciting part of this that you like playing? Then go do that. Go figure out a campaign. Install a mod that gives you something new to do. Like, just do something exciting that's really fun. This is supposed to like kind of Calgon take you away. So just go with that. And then like I said, you want to do something probably in the room that you're in to have each of the elements tapped in, and to have them actually kind of flare up at a certain point whenever you reach out to the holy guardian angel. And then use Skyrim shouts. Woo-ha. That's it. And I think this pretty much writes itself. We can thank, Bethany Esda for writing the true modern holy guardian angel summoning ritual. And good luck. Enjoy having a wingman, and after you're done with all this, then maybe that voluntary / involuntary celibacy thing can be figured out. Maybe you won't care anymore. You're definitely going to get better advice on crypto and stock, so have fun.